Right.
I'm helping this guy named Robert Peters. He's running for the state senator position.
Oh, okay.
So Obama, in his position, Kawami had it. So Kawami was attorney general.
Oh, okay.
Now they have appointed him 5 people. But people don't know him. I'm on the phone campaign. What can you give him advice? It's in March 17th. They have to elect him.
It's in March?
Yeah.
Yeah, but use all this technology.
Okay.
And because everybody has a cell phone.
Right.
And you can do ads. Get somebody, the kids know how to do it by sending, announcements and put it out on Facebook and using all these different platforms. And then what he needs to do is just record himself talking about what he means to do to help the people. And then send that out where you can do a self-recording.
Oh, that's a great, so just record himself.
Yeah.
And then send it to them, because I know they're going to do, because he's a low
And the
level.
most important thing for him to do is campaign in the churches.
I was trying to tell them that. So will they allow you? Because the church and tree guys separate
Yeah, start with his own church.
Well, he said that he's a Catholic, so he really doesn't have a church home.
Yeah, but still, it doesn't make any difference.
I told him
tell him you better go join the church. If he wants to get elected, he
That's very good advice. So have him record himself on the phone.
Yeah, all you have to do is on the phone and say, I'm running for this state senate seat because President Obama held it and gave excellent service, and I'm committed to giving excellent service as well.
That's very good advice.
That's how you do it.
Okay.
And to see if you...
we love the music. We just want it down a little bit.
And so what else you say?
No, I was just saying, tell them to campaign in churches because that's the largest group of soul people you're going to find at one time. You just have a finesse with it. What a voice, though. That's what I want to know. What have you recorded? What can I...
I'm going to bring you a CD on Saturday that I did with Orrin Hatch that I'm about to record this year. I haven't been singing in years, and so I'm going to start. I started doing it again. I just did a play up in New York, a reading for a play they're trying to get to Broadway. So the next thing they're going to do is workshop it.
Marion Barry introduced me to her. Roberta Flack.
Oh, I sang with her. That's what reason I moved to New York. Hey, everybody. Hey. Hi. See, we're here. And yes, I'm wearing my hat. I'm not embarrassed of my hair. It's all good. But it's wet. It's wet, everybody. So I need to, in this wintry Chicago weather. Okay. Okay, everybody, just stay right here. Not 2 minutes. Okay, good.
And how are you doing today? So good to see you. Senator Michael Bowen mentioned.
Lucille Dobbins.
Ms. Dobbins, a great pleasure.
Did you want to eat, sir?
I'll wait till I'll eat afterwards. I guess. I don't want to. I want to be able to speak. I don't want to have chicken flying out of what I'm trying to speak.
All the crumbs in your mustache.
Yeah, and all that kind of stuff. And that's very enticing. And getting it together.
Yes, ma'am. What? Say it again. What you want? What you want?
Anytime, be glad to. And it's, you know, that's what we did. I was a campaign manager for my brother. And he was,
So could you do me a favor? Yes, ma'am. Can you? Round.
You know, I'd love to have ladies sit next to me with some fried chicken.
I've got it.
How you doing?
I've got it.
Michael Owen Mitchell.
This is Senator Michael Mitchell. We've got to get him some fried chicken.
Oh, she's putting, like she's doing a plate. I thought I would eat it a little later. I'm gonna make my premiere on YouTube. You're screaming and the chicken be coming out.
Okay, everybody, we should be up on my YouTube page as well. The Santita Jackson Show, so you can go over there and like and subscribe. Oh, thank you for being so patient. And you can also like and share on this page, so please like and share. You know, everyone, I need you all to bring it down just a little bit. No, because we've already started. And if you could ask Veronica to bring it down just a little bit over there. I like the music in the background, but it needs to be down just a little bit. So, you know, tonight, hey everybody, hey. We're on. So I need you to move in. Because we're actually on. Hey everybody. Hey, let's talk about it with Santita Jackson and friends. It's wonderful to be with you tonight on a cold night here in Chicago. Yes, I'm wearing the hat on my head. Hey Phyllis, want you to take a seat. Well, got this hat on my head because I got my hair bleached today and my hair is wet. But I don't want pneumonia, also known as pneumonia, or be susceptible to the coronavirus, which we're going to be talking about tomorrow morning on WCPT, is it a public health crisis? Because they quarantined a city of 11 million people, but 5 million people escaped. They missed the quarantine, right? So let's talk about that tomorrow morning. And Mitch McConnell has an approval rating of 37%. How is it that he has so much power? But he's been underwater for years. But he wields so much power. But Lisa Murkowski's underwater. Susan Collins is underwater. You have some of the most powerful people in America who are unpopular at home, and yet they're making consequential decisions. We'll be talking about that tomorrow. But tonight, we moved things around because we were going to be talking about the presidential race. But of course, when Kobe Bryant was killed yesterday in this crash, in this helicopter crash, it changed everything, you know, for so many people, because maybe not for everyone. Of course, you brought your. I'm so glad you brought your. Yeah, it's okay. We love Phyllis because she brings her research always.
Well, I just brought the names of the other people.
Well, thank you very much. Because it was but one of the reason, and of course, all 9 souls who were aboard are important, but oftentimes it is we do identify with these. With celebrities, we do identify with icons. We identify with Kobe Bryant's never say die spirit, his absolute dedication to excellence and to becoming the best that he could be. Sometimes we're all afraid to do that and be that ourselves, but in many respects, people like that do that for us. They kind of do the heavy lifting, and so I think that in many ways, as we watched him grow into his manhood. He was the first NBA player to go from high school right into the NBA. And he did it almost without missing a beat. And watching his family, his mother and father at the time, and 2 sisters sit by with pride as he continued to grow and attain heights that his father, who was an NBA player, had not achieved. He really joined the ranks of the greats almost immediately. And all of his peers would say, and he would say, you might run faster than me, but you'll never outwork me. You gotta love that. You gotta love that. And then he won an Oscar a couple of years ago. We find that he had a business portfolio, an investment portfolio of more than $2 billion with a B. But all that really was not as important as watching him be a father and a husband, a family man. And I'm saying all these things because, of course, the 9 people who were killed, extremely important. And I would never, ever, and we're going to announce their names. But because of our identification with him, one of the questions that I wanted to ask today and ask of everyone here was, are you making the most of your life? He lived 41 years. And that's really, for me, as I was looking at him, many people, many of us, do not squeeze every bit out of our lives that we can. And from all we can see, this is someone who absolutely did that. He just got every little bit he could out of his life. And so, I think this is one of the moments, because he was 41, so handsome, had just become a father for the 4th time last June. It's going to be one of those moments where were you when you found out, And what does this mean? To me, as we talked about this and really thought through the topic tonight, remembering Kobe Bryant, a life, cut short. But was it really cut short? Really? Because he had done so much of his work. But the point is to make it count. Wherever you are in your life, make it count. Some people live a long time and don't get a lot done. Maybe they need to be here to try and get it done. But he got a lot done in a short period of time. So I want to move the microphone around, and I'm so glad to have you, Senator Michael Bowman, with us. Well, since you're the handsome gentleman at the table.
Hey, I'm telling you, I'm loving every moment of this.
Well, let me introduce him to our audience. Of course, I met him personally more than 30 years ago when his niece and I were roommates at Howard University. Oh, okay. And that was a beautiful. We have since become, sisters from another mister. Lisa, hey, and And I remember when when PBS was doing a special on his family, they were called, and they have been called for generations, the Black Kennedys. His father helped to write when you look at the photos of Lyndon Baines Johnson writing the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, it's his father who's sitting next to him. He was the 101st senator. That's what the U.S. Senate called him, and when he retired as the chief lobbyist for the NAACP, the whole U.S. Senate honored him because he was such a regular there. They said he is the 101st senator. And the federal courthouse is named after Clarence Mitchell Jr. in Baltimore, as is University of Maryland's main campus administration building. His mother was the first black woman to be administered to the bar in Maryland, Juanita Jackson Mitchell. Thurgood Marshall and W.E.B. Du Bois, Mary McLeod Bethune, all of these people have sat at their table because they have been really the family that has held the NAACP together for 100 years. So I'm really glad that he's with us today, and we're catching him before he goes to South Africa. Well, I mean, because they were instrumental in help, because no one knew who Mandela was. So we're going to bring you back just before you go to South Africa, so that we can, get some of your history. But I've, known so much, and with all of that history, they continue to serve. They've always lived in the heart of the black community, like Elijah Cummings, whom his family mentored them. Elijah Cummings got his start with the Mitchells, and of course Perrin Mitchell, his uncle. So I say all of that to say that talk about people who get a whole lot out of their lives, right? But when I think of this young man with his daughter, when people said, "Oh, you don't have a son? Oh, poor Kobe. I know you. Who's going to carry on your legacy?" He said, "My daughter."
She said, "I got this."
Yeah. She was a basketball prodigy, a young lady, Gigi Gianna, who was killed. So what did you think of?
I just watched him as a young man growing up. First of all, I want to thank you for your giving unstintingly of your very fabric to continue the fight for freedom. And number one. And it is important that we encourage young people like you to make sure that I can be rest assured now. I'm in good shape that you are to the mantle with your brothers and sisters, and to more importantly because of the legacy of your father, who gave when it wasn't popular. And gave when if you said that you were with Jesse Jackson, people didn't want to people looked like us didn't want to be with you and stay with you.
It was like waving a white flag.
Yeah, but we know that because Dr. King often said that it was important to give of yourself, and more importantly that as I watched you and listened to that glorious voice of yours, I then jumped immediately. I was coming out of church yesterday, and I heard the news about this young man. And this is what happens. It's but I can just tell you early on, I'm a basketball fan and watched him and watched his father play. I have to admit I'm old enough. I made it past 3 score. So, so this gray is really earned. I didn't know this in. But more importantly, it makes you, I'm a race man. In other words, we've got to know that when our young people do well, we've got to not try to criticize or say that, I got mine and you got yours to get. We've got to bathe ourselves in their celebrity and their talents and encourage them. And I never forget, early on I sent a letter to him. This was before email. I sent a letter from as a public official in Maryland. I was in the Baltimore City Council at the time, and I wanted to make sure to congratulate him coming into the NBA because he had come from high school, and I just thought it was a disgrace that more high school players who were gifted weren't able to come in and earn money. But he had come from a background, and I used to take delight in listening to him speak Italian. He was his brother, and he's Italian side, but the Ethiopians got the Italian straight anyway. But he just had a decency about him. He had good home training. His mother and father had given him, and then I met him in Los Angeles. I happened to be out campaigning one time for Jerry Brown, running for president of the United States, and then we became friends, and so I was regularly in California and with Willie Brown. And it was Willie Brown who introduced me to Kobe Bryant personally, and I got good seats, and more importantly, but he was just so self-effacing. He was just very humble young man. You know, you could see that he was in the middle of all this glitter and celebrity status in Hollywood. Now, back then, to be a brother in the middle of Hollywood, I mean, you were doing something, and but he never, and I credit that to his parents, who gave him a sense of who he was, and that he never took, you know, some of our young people aren't prepared for the prime time. And this isn't something that you can immediately adapt to. We've got to take the time to nurture them and encourage them, and do what is necessary. But Kobe continued to his, I can just count the times that I've seen him either in an airport or traveling somewhere, and one time I was in Rome and saw him, and they were in the middle of the airport, and he just was, you know, imagine being mobbed, you know, but he was always just moving, and I think he missed a lot of flights because he never took time he thought it was more important to say hello to somebody. And the other thing, he was involved, people don't know, he was always involved in the cause. He was a life member of the NAACP.
Wow.
And people never knew. The Los Angeles branch of the NAACP. And so he had, and it's tragic when these young people are taken from us, but then we look at the rich legacy he has wrought, that the lives he's touched, and I always believe that God puts us here for a purpose, and that he touched the lives of so many young people that they're going to go and Zoom and be sure of themselves, and whether it's sports, and more importantly, I have 3 daughters. So I'm partial to men who take a special interest in their daughters, and more importantly, you know, there's it's sort of part of the B2 movement, but I knew early on, I was telling Miss Santita about my upbringing, that my mother took me to a woman physician, just so we would know that women were just as capable. Now, this is 1953, so, but I got to know that women were capable of doing things. But this is what Kobe instilled in by his presence with his daughter. And this is how God, sometimes we can't question, you know, what he has done, but we've got to understand it and know that I guarantee you there are going to be some little brothers who come out of Watts or come out someplace out of either the west side of Fifth or Michigan Avenue somewhere who were touched genuinely by this young man, who then will aspire to do things that they hadn't dreamed about before. That's what I think Kobe's life is that you can do whatever you want to do. Who could imagine, you know, his father was a fair NBA player, but it was the days when blacks, we had more white ball players who were making the money. And but his father, that's why he had to go to Italy to play, to make money and feed his family. And to look at the benefit of it by him, they're trying to see. That's why, you know, wrong can be cast aside, because those people are trying to do this father in, and he was able to bring this child into that league and learn all these cultures. And he then came back to give of himself and played incredible basketball. And you've got to understand that basketball, this is real money, and. And he has, Santita, you mentioned his business portfolio, and if you look at that carefully, you'll see that the kind of incredible businesses he invested in. But he also was gifted in soccer. I do a lot of work in Africa, and then my college, I went to Lincoln University in Pennsylvania, and we couldn't afford American football, and half of our students were from the Caribbean and African countries, so I got to play soccer, and I wasn't that good, but more importantly, it was the game of the world. And so I go around now, well, that's what Kobe has done. He invested in these soccer leagues throughout Europe.
Well, hold on, because he'd become what I don't think we really fully gained an appreciation for was how popular he was all over the world. He was the most popular American basketball player in China.
For his basketball or for other
For
things?
his basketball, but I think part of what was, and I'm gonna move the mic around. Part of what was exciting to them was that, as you said, he was multilingual.
Yeah.
And he was someone, but multilingual because he had lived outside of the United States. And he had, when you live outside of the United States or spend a significant chunk of time outside of the country, it changes you.
Yeah, it really does.
Because you really, it's one thing, and I would really urge everyone to make that investment. There's nothing like having a home discussion, and there's nothing like seeing your home, but getting out of the United States and looking back. You will see when you come back to the United States, you feel the yoke of racism. I'm not saying that you don't see racism in other countries, no. But you feel the oppression.
I was living there, not just visiting.
You know, I spent several months away in Denmark when I was 14. I turned 15 overseas. And what was interesting, my parents had a friend who was teaching. He was a chemist, a renowned chemist, and he was teaching. And so I went for about 4 months. Just had a little bit of studies to finish and then traveled. And then that summer I also spent the last 2.5 weeks in Cuba. Had to come back here, go to Canada, and then fly because of the embargo, because of the blockade. But what I did get a chance to see and feel was, that's what we were just talking to a young man about using the term black. You see, most of the world looks like you.
Yeah.
Most of the world understands our oppression. They understand our story. They appreciate Black Americans fight, all people around the world, I don't care what your color is, they appreciate the audacity of Black people in America. And they respect it. And anyone who has held the line and who has become excellent, who's become the best at what they do, like a Kobe, you're beloved because they know that it's not been easy.
Oh, no question. You go into Brussels, Belgium, and the airport there, and I call it the Browning of Brussels. These Africans had come in, and that was the repository of all the Nazis. They moved in there. But these brothers came from all these African countries, and now everybody looks like us in the city, in the main square. And
Black population, African population.
And more importantly, in Africa, that I am fortunate that my father's roommates. So I got an early perspective. His first roommate was Kwame Nkrumah, who became president of Ghana. He went to this Lincoln University, and where my father went. And then the next one was Benasikwe, who became the first Governor General of Nigeria. And my oldest brother, and Clarence, we were the politicians. There were 4 boys. One was an artist, and the other one was too young to travel. But we loved to meet people. And we got to, in 1957, go to Accra, Ghana, and watch Kwame Nkrumah be sworn in as the president of Ghana. And I came from a segregated Baltimore, where the textbooks said that the slaves were happy, and because of this was in the textbooks, and that Africans, I always wondered. I said, now how could this one white man and a monkey chase all these thousands of Africans, and didn't make a difference?
Let me ask you this: do you think that that's helped? That is why you appreciate Kobe's global perspective?
No, I'm tying it in because this is what there was a pan-African, pan-world about Kobe. He had a business sense that you just can't learn that. You either have it or you don't. And so not only did he have these basketball skills, but this is what God has a way of doing. He gives so much to those who can utilize it. And he did it in a profound way by using this business skills so that he regularly visited. That's why I also met him not only in Rome, but met him in South Africa. He was coming in Cape Town, of all places. So I think that his life is rich. And I learned a long time ago that we sometimes, when Kobe, I got the news, it hit me hard. I lost a wife who simply went to work and didn't come home. And so and I married a younger woman thinking I would be in good shape. And so that's why the Lord had a different plan for me. But to know that I then reconciled, and this is what I think is the word to those who are fans of Kobe. We are thankful, God, to have had him the years we did, and his impact on this earth, and his influence in touching people, and bringing this young woman. I can't say enough about that, because, you know, some of the brothers are guilty too, trying to hold the young women down and everything else. But we've got to push our young women, let them know they're just as capable and they can do it. Here, the great Kobe Bryant, he said he didn't need a son. He had his daughter was going to go in and turn the WNBA and to make it even better than the NBA. And you'd be surprised these young women need that kind of push, because there's so many forces that are out here to do it. And he took a stand, and he could relate to these young people. And the fact that in fact, I tell you, in some circles, they knew this Facebook crowd, you know, the new kind of, she was a bit more popular than he was in terms of to some of the young people that I've talked with who knew about her basketball skills. And I was surprised my own granddaughter, who's 11, began to tell me about her, and said, yeah, I watch her all the time. And so this is what is important. But I don't want to continue. All these beautiful women are here, and you got to have your words in it as well. So add to it.
I've been enjoying it, because a lot of these things I didn't know. And because I didn't follow Kobe Bryant,
but from what he's been telling us, because you know that he's bumped into him all over the world. Because we hear everyone talk about the languages he spoke, but it's not been given context. They didn't know. I mean, they say, oh yeah, his father, he lived in Italy, but no, and that kept him leaving the United States, not leaving home, but being part of the world and embracing that. Why don't you read the people,
the names of
the souls who were lost yesterday?
Okay,
because I just saw the husband of one of the women coaches I saw an excerpt of his interview on the Today Show today. It was heartbreaking because he said, I thought I was going to be able to make it through the interview. Doctor, I thought I was going to be able to make it through the interview until you called her name.
Really?
And just to hear him break, and then, you know, to see, I didn't realize so many people had taken, that there was video of the crash. Yeah. I bumped into it accidentally.
Really?
I wouldn't want to see that. But why don't you give us the names of the people who went to be with God yesterday?
In addition to Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, 13-year-old daughter Gianna, and then there was John Altobelli, who was the head of baseball coach at Orange Coast College in Costa Mesa, his wife Carrie, and their daughter Alyssa. Then there was Christina Masser, who was the coach at Harbor Day School in Newport Beach, where Kobe's daughter attended school. Sarah Chester and her middle school-age daughter Peyton were also on board the helicopter, including the pilot Ara Zabayan.
Yeah. And, you know, and it is important. Miss Steele. Yes. So glad. We love Miss Steele because we love Miss Steele's family. Who's your mom? She's a mother to us all, actually.
Well, I love my mom, Bobby Steele, and needless to say.
Well, let me just say, Bobby Steele, for those of us who have looked for really the best in black womanhood and the best in womanhood, in public life, someone who has always served in or out of office.
Thank you.
She has always served, and we want to thank you for sharing your mother with us. And I like to say in a very special way, because as she has served, she's raised a beautiful family.
Thank you.
And you all have gone on to serve Chicago, the state, and the nation. And I want to thank you.
Thank you.
For continuing to serve and share. Here, we love
pleasure.
your brother. No, thank you so much. We love the Steele family. I could not go on and on about the Mitchells because we got the Steele family because they just keep on coming. They just multiply, and we love it. But so, what do you think about what you've been hearing and about Kobe Bryant?
Well, for me,
and thank you for being here tonight.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, and I'm glad to be in the company of such affluent people. Thank you. This is a pleasure for me, and to learn as well. You know, I'm a student. I'm a student of life, and one of the things I enjoy doing, I actually use YouTube to learn. And I was on YouTube a while back, and I was looking at this show. It was called Bet David. And Kobe was the featured person. I did not realize the type of charisma, the drive. This interview taught me something. When I got up from the interview, listening to his interview, I had the Kobe factor. I had the Kobe factor. I said, I'm a business person, and I own my own business. And when that interview was over, it gave me a sense of accomplishment, a sense of power like no other. I sat and I listened to Kobe do the interview. I listened to how he talked about his team players, his teammates, and what drove him and why it was so important for him to keep practicing when everybody else was out partying.
Yes.
Why he needed to do this and why it didn't bother him. You know, and he always talked about how he wanted to pull the other teammates along with him. It wasn't a big I and a little you. And he just inspired. He was so inspiring. And to hear him talk and be able to stand in his own, being a young athlete coming right out of high school, articulate, had a presence.
Good home training.
I mean, good home training, but let me tell you what else I saw. I saw some self-training.
Yes.
I saw what Kobe apparently took it upon himself to make sure that he knew what he needed to say and he knew how to do it well because he was well-spoken. And he just had me in such an awe. I had no idea as an athlete that this wasn't a professional educator or someone who had gone through a lot of educational training. And he really encouraged me as a business person to want to be better.
Hold that thought. Everyone, please like and share us. Hello, Lorraine and Betty. And, I don't have my glasses, Arnold Coleman. Oh, boy, please share, like and share. Yes. I've got to find my glasses. Mateo, did I leave my glasses over there? Oh my, where are they? I've got to find them, but that's okay, I'll find them.
Yes,
But please like and share. Please like and share. And go to my YouTube page, the Santita Jackson Show page. We just started it. Like and subscribe. And leave your comments in all these places. Everybody's sitting behind us, including my producer from my radio show. Everybody's eating. And so, and we smell the chicken is wonderful in here.
It's delicious.
So, okay.
Really
so
delicious.
don't worry. We're going to be off the air in about 20 minutes. So everybody get their hot fried chicken. But please, what will you say? Because you said, wait a minute, he did have great home training, but you saw a fire inside him.
It was some self-training as well. He invested in himself, and that's one thing that it really kind of shed some light, because what happens is we get to a point that we don't realize how important it is to invest in ourselves. Self-education, self-development, and I saw that in Kobe. I saw him standing when he was sitting on that stage, he was so confident. And what was so interesting is, like you were saying, he was so humble. Yeah. He was so humble.
But you know what? Really? Oh no, babe. Thank you. My glasses over here. I got to make sure I got the right lens. But I found that people who really embrace their greatness are humble.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the small who are unkind and who puff themselves up.
Yes.
My father says, don't take yourself seriously. Take the work seriously.
Exactly.
No, take yourself seriously enough to take care of yourself, be drug-free, doesn't like alcohol, all this stuff.
Yes.
I get it. And I agree with that. That having been said, he said, no, don't take yourself seriously. And when you don't take yourself seriously, I'm not saying you should regularly be insulted, but you kind of get over
Yes.
things, and it's about the work, right?
Don't believe your own press.
Don't do it.
Don't believe your own press. And the fact that this brother would say, one of the interviewer asked him about why is he so humble. He said, and why did he continue to play when he was hurt? He said, I don't know how much money the people in the audience had when they came to see me play, but I was going to give them the best of me. Who does that? Isn't that wonderful? If we did that every time we go out, when we show up, we show up with all of ourselves. He showed up with all of himself. The Kobe factor is real to me. It's real.
Because I just really believe that it's when our work is done that God lets us go. I mean, all I can just look at Jesus on the cross. When he got up on the cross, he had to go through a few stations.
Oh yeah.
Before God could take him home. It was only when he forgave and said, "Please forgive them, for they know not what they do." Then it was finished. And I see someone who came in and who he really paid attention to his to his inner vision, to that God thing, right? Don't pass it under there. Just keep it above. Yeah, just keep it above. So so we won't not. But I think that he stayed very faithful to that.
Yes.
When it was time for him to get married, with all due respect to his parents, and he and his wife have been together 20 years. It was time. When it was time for him to go into the NBA, it was time. When it was time for him to retire, it was time.
Yes.
When it was time, he heard that, but he left nothing on the table. I love it. I love it. And that's why we're talking about making it count.
Yes.
Because everybody who has talked about this, and even, and Phyllis, thank you, because you're saying, wait a minute, making it count, some other people counted. Because 8 other souls went to be with God yesterday. And we have to be mindful of that.
Yes.
But I think, and that having been said, we also have to be mindful of the fact that this guy did a lot of things that could make us better, those that he's left behind. And I thank you. I thank everybody for their testimonies. And you are on your way you're about to leave us tomorrow. Where are you going, just very quickly?
I'm going to Jackson State University. I'll be a visiting scholar at the Margaret Walker Center.
And we are so proud of you, Dr. Edward Davis. But give us your reflections, because we're going to move this around, because I promise you we're going to get out a little early tonight, because we've got a lot of things to do.
Yeah.
Got a lot of things to do. Got to make sure my father's okay tonight. I'm going to go check in on him. He's everybody. I don't want any rumors started. His health is great. No, people do wellness checks. Look, my father has Parkinson's, and Parkinson's is a very real disease. And I have seen him struggle with it. And so now what I do, I stop by a lot, and I'm going to stay with him tonight because, when he doesn't just have Parkinson's, my mama's got it, I've got it, Jesse got it, Johnny's got it, Yusef got it, Jackie's got
Family.
it. And that's the way that happens.
Yeah.
And so with, begging your pardon, I'm going to go. We want to really cycle through these comments tonight, give you the best that we've got. That having been said, I've got to do a little caregiving tonight. Right. But Dr. Davis?
Went to my home state. My roots are in
your home state.
and Greenwood.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be around there. I'll be all through Mississippi. I'm thinking my grandfather, Eddie Davis Jr., he was a basketball player. He played for the Black Bombers here in Chicago in the Negro Leagues. He used to play against the Harlem Globetrotters. So I wasn't as good as Kobe in terms of basketball, but my grandfather was, or maybe not as good. Yeah, anyway, but he could. Yeah.
And everyone, if you're on Facebook, please like and share, like and share, like and share. And on the Santita Jackson Show on YouTube, please like and subscribe. But everybody, if you are on YouTube, please like and share. Yes?
Yeah, I was thinking, there are a few things I was thinking about in this whole situation with Kobe. I read something that he wrote or said to himself about 6 months ago, sort of like a letter to his younger self. What he would have told himself at 21, what he was telling himself at 41, what he would have told himself as far as telling not to give his family money, but to invest in them in other ways, or to invest in his family in this way versus that. And I thought that was really interesting that at 41 he had this wisdom of someone, beyond 41, right? And even looking at what he could have done differently at 21 years old. But I was even thinking of Kobe. I saw in the news that it's possible that this helicopter used to fly the former governor of Illinois. And so this same helicopter, so you think, we don't know what could have happened over those years, or when and how and whom and who. Yeah, so this is really mind-blowing. But then also, he's 4 years older than me, right? And I'm thinking of where could I be if that were to happen to me at some point. But then also, I'm a linguist. And so I don't know too many other young black men who speak different languages like Kobe. Yeah. His Italian and his Spanish and his English and all these others, and how he could flow through not just English so well, but all these other different languages very well. Not just flow through the basketball court, but also flow through his words and be very maintained. And also even just how he was able to redeem himself in so many different ways over the years, right? As a wonderful
and also his
father.
Force in the Premier Soccer League in Europe, and the nurturing of young African students and others who were escaping abject poverty, and to get involved in the Premier Leagues. And he recently was involved. He has ownership interest in some of the major clubs, and I'm a Manchester United person, but
okay.
These Europeans are crazy. They're kind of clones of Trump. And they be throwing bananas on the play when these Africans come out to play.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
disturbing noise. And he enlisted the help of other owners to make sure that these young Africans were treated with respect. Now, this is touching lives that we don't even know about, and I just happen to know that because of my love of soccer, and but that regularly followed him on that. But you're absolutely correct, and. You haven't said anything yet, but I wanted to hear what you had, and then the next one we pass it around, because it's wanted your perspective on this young life as well.
I was very touched. I'm not a basketball follower. Mm-hmm. I'm not a groupie, obviously, given my age. But I was very touched by the fact that all these people from different walks of life across the world, not just in this country, but across the world, were so grieved by this young man. So I said, wait a minute, I knew the name Kobe Bryant. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I said, well, I've got to look into this young man as to what is it that makes people across the world grieve so for a young man that's only 41 years old. He's my daughter's age. And I'm going, oh my God. Mm-hmm. And my first thought was, are his parents alive? Yes, they are. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, oh my God, how do they feel losing their child? I don't care what he did in life or what he didn't do in life. Mm-hmm. But when you lose your child and your grandchild, oh my God, how does that hurt? And how does that hurt so deeply? And then I'm saying, here's a black young man, and I know what that little nonsense that went on back when he was younger and all that. And a couple of the news people sort of brought it up, but they brought it up as he overcame that, yada, yada, yada. And he did. Mm-hmm. But I was so struck by his connection to his daughters. Yeah. When I saw, when they played those films yesterday and today, and when he said, well, guys are coming up to me, the journalists, he said the guys, he didn't say the journalists, he said the guys are coming up to me saying, Kobe, when you gonna have a son? When you gonna have a son? And he's got 3 daughters now. So they can That was before he had the fourth one. And they said to him, who's going to carry on your legacy? But his daughter said, the 13-year-old, she said, I got this. I just hollered. And my niece said to me, Auntie, what you laughing about? I said, did you see what Kobe Bryant's daughter said with him? She goes, yes, Auntie, I saw that. And I said, I was so struck by this 13-year-old that she could say that. He had given her something within her soul and her heart to say to these journalists when they're talking about, you gotta have a son, you gotta have a son. And here she is standing here as his daughter, and she says, excuse me, I got this.
But you know what's interesting about that? She also, we have to give credit to her mother. Because
Right.
she had a mother who also supported that.
Yes.
She had a mother who did not push up against that. Because far too
Yes.
often that happens even in intact marriages.
Yes.
So she had a mother who supported her daughter's ambitions.
Yes.
And I mean, I just feel that they were working a lot of things out.
Yes, they were.
And we're seeing a whole lot. We're seeing a whole
What
lot.
about the idea of how they instill
I need you to have Okay, let's keep this up.
the confidence that Kobe had? You can see how it was in his daughter, that he's also instilled that in his daughter, because she know who she is, and she stands up for what she believes. And I've seen her on several occasions when she's with him, and she's proud, and she's a very honorable person, and that speaks to the character of what the parents have also instilled in her. You know,
Because it just, look, it
takes two.
Because I appreciate daddy's girl, mama's baby, all of that. But I just think that it's very important that we acknowledge how important it is to what a mother gives you, what a father gives you, and what they can give you together. Which is no disrespect to single parents.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. Both of my grandmothers for a time were single parents. But that was not the optimal plan. And they both, God rest their souls, said to me, oh no, they said, I never want that for you.
Right.
Now, that's what I got. But that is not where they ended up. And what you see with a Kobe Bryant, Terry, is you saw, and with Vanessa Bryant, and with their 4 daughters, and with Kobe's father and mother, whatever challenges they had in their relationships. And in relationships you're going to have challenges, right? You saw a family. You saw a family. Because Kobe Bryant, with all that he had inside of him, he had a father who nurtured that. He had a father and mother who nurtured that, and sisters who encouraged that. I think that there's so much that we can learn from that as we look at their lives. And look, please keep your comments about him being human.
Right.
We're all human.
Right.
And to let me put it as delicately as I can, everybody's got intestines. So everyone should be humble. I'm talking about what he did with what God gave him and how he made that count. And what about you? And what about you? What about the rest of us who've been left here? Because those 9 souls went on to be with God yesterday.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, right at the right hand, I pray.
That's right.
So now what are we going to do? Because we've been left here to do some work. Because clearly, everybody in this room, our work is not done.
That's right. Absolutely.
His work is done. His
He
work is
did
done.
an amazing job.
He filled it, and so did Gigi, and so did those other two girls who were on the 2 or 3 girls who were on the plane. Because on the helicopter, because they were reaching and they were excited.
Yes.
They were reaching. Terry.
Absolutely. Just briefly, at the beginning of the program, you mentioned, this would be a moment. Where were you when this happened? I wasn't at home when it happened, But by the time I got home, my son is 33 years old, and he had tears in his eyes. He said, "Ma, did you hear about what happened to Kobe?" I said, "Yes, I did." He said, "You know, I don't understand it. It's just too devastating." Because, you know, he loved Kobe, the Lakers, basketball, period. I'm not a big follower of it, but sometimes when he is at the house, oh my God, when they're playing and Kobe's playing, he could holler out, "Bo, quiet it down some." But he was just that crazy, you know, about Kobe,
What did Kobe
and others.
represent to him?
His greatness and and what he represented out in, you know, on the court and with his family. He was a family man.
But stay right there. And all I'm saying is, you know, Jesus said that we could do greater things, and in fact we would if we got our minds wrapped around our divinity.
Yes.
I'm saying that's what these persons are proxies for what we need to be doing in our own lives.
Yeah.
His greatness. Everybody's got some greatness. Dr. King said everybody can be great because everybody can serve.
Right. But, you know, but a lot of people looked up to him. Young people, they really looked up to him.
But
and
you know, but see,
were
well, I'm
proud.
just saying that they looked up to him. Now he has gone, and he has left a body of work, lots of interviews,
Absolutely.
memoirs. He's left a wonderful example behind. Now my question is, as we begin to close, what is our takeaway? Not just from him, but from those other 8 souls on board, his daughter who had such a sense of herself. And I doubtless these other young girls who were playing basketball had great senses of themselves too. Absolutely. Well, you know, you're not gonna get on the court because first of all, first thing you got to do is make the team. Right. These are not walk-ons. You got to make the team, and you got to compete to stay on the team every day.
And they had the support.
The microphone.
One of the girls, her father was there on the plane with her, which is very supportive. Mother and father.
And their mother.
I mean, father, but especially fathers.
Yeah.
You know, I
Why
know
do you say
mothers too.
especially fathers?
Well, you know, I wouldn't say most fathers. Some men just don't take the women's sports seriously, so they kind of demean it a little bit, and it's just they'll watch it. They won't attend it at all, and they'll watch it if there's nothing else on television. So I admire the fact that he took it seriously. And I think that he might have been a changing force in women's sport when it came to pay equity.
Well, you know, he
going
and Dwayne
forward.
Wade and some other and a few other athletes, they would actively go to the WNBA games, and they pushed for pay equity. You're right, and they pushed for us to be. They pushed for people to get involved with the WNBA because they asked him, "Do you think there will be a time when women will be able to play in the NBA?" He said, "Oh, that time is now." He said, "I can tell you several WNBA players who could play in the NBA right now." He said, "It's the skill set."
Right, exactly.
The skill.
Right. So I admire
when you say
that.
He's a change agent, is that what you're talking about?
Well, I admire the fact that he wasn't shy about his support of his daughter playing basketball. I think that was fantastic because I didn't know that.
Playing a sport that he played.
You know, and I mean, he was encouraging her. She said she was going to be in the WNBA. He said she would be in the WNBA. Having her there, having him as backup, would bring such light to the WNBA and would increase and help in terms of their pay equity and the attention that they're not getting now, especially the pay equity. I was just shocked by the female soccer team that won and still was paid less than half of the U.S. soccer team that didn't win.
And they weren't getting the endorsements.
And who haven't been winning.
And, you know, so
I'm not getting the endorsements.
right.
Well, you know.
Right. So
yes.
There's one other little thing to add too, that Kobe's life is a testament to those, to your father, Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, and Dr. Martin Luther King and Julian Bond and Clarence and Juanita Mitchell and Lily Mae Carroll Jackson, and all of those people who wanted to give of themselves to find a better day. Growing up, I'm a young 74, But growing up, I couldn't fathom, other than Wilt Chamberlain. You know, too many of us, there were so many of these white fellows playing basketball back then, that I became a football fanatic and baseball fanatic. But then when the league opened up, but it's because of your father's commitment and insistence that the doors be open from Wall Street on down to the basketball courts, to the baseball fields, and other areas. And it made it possible for a Kobe Bryant. If they hadn't done what they have done to make a difference, there would be no Kobe Bryant. And therefore we are thankful. So it's like, you know, that old spiritual, the old ox, moving. And that's what I feel now, you know. And sometimes unearned suffering is redemptive. It really is. I've learned that, and so that this family, we can only wish them well, and know that that spirit, he's done what he needed to do, and you're so right. So God bless you, Kobe Bryant, and I think those words of Langston Hughes are so eloquent as a testimony to the words like freedom, sweet and wonderful to say, on my heartstrings sing freedom, all day, every day. God bless you, Kobe Bryant.
Bless you, Kobe. Let's pass around the mic because I want some final thoughts. You want to say something, Mark? Final thoughts about Kobe Bryant, Myron? Please. Because we've got about 5 more minutes, and I want us to make it count. How about that? So, everybody, let's make it brief and like and share, everybody. Like and share. That's why Nicole is always reminding. Okay.
In 2 quick seconds, one thing that struck me is that how his passing has meant so much to so many people. It connected people. I was on the bus when I was reading it, and this other woman obviously had read it at the same time I did, and she just hollered out on the bus, "Why Kobe?" I think that a shared experience, a shared grief. I'm not a big sports fan. I'm a sort of kind of sports fan. I like, you know, but I think that what he brought as far as a personality, it hit everybody. And the one other thing that's sort of in the back of my mind is that maybe this is an opportunity for us to look at how we talk to people and what we say about people. Because those things are everlasting. All the accolades now were great, but there was some time when the waters were a little rough and things were said and accusations were made. And I just really hope, if anything, maybe that's look at the total complete compilation of this man's life and the value of that. And when we look at each other and we look at others, that we may have a little better consideration as to what we're saying.
Closing thought?
I am Myron Chris, and I don't really have anything new to add, but it's just
but you counsel people. I mean, I want everyone to know he's getting a PhD in divinity, and you focus, amen to that, and you focus on counseling. Now there are some young people, some children who were in school with Gigi and those other children on that plane who need to be counseled today. They need a word. You've got Vanessa, my Lord, and wait a minute, and the other spouses of the souls on board. You've got some people who need, well, first of all, do you think people need counseling? Should a counselor have been at that school, that grammar school today?
Well, as a counselor, as a therapist, I am 100% on board that they do need counseling. They do need, and it's easy for us to remember people in this time, right when the event happens. But what about a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? We cannot forget grief is a long journey. It's a lifelong journey. They will remember this for the rest of their lives. It would impact the rest of the legacies and the people that come behind them. So we have to not just think about today, not just love on them today, not just send them Facebook messages or whatever, but to continually keep them in our thoughts and prayers. And then the second thing that comes to mind is how it's so easy to get to that place of saying, where was God? Like you're saying, why did this happen to Kobe? And we will never know. We will never know why this happened, but we can be a community for one another. We can love each other. You know, we can go down that rabbit trail trying to figure out, you know, where was God, there's no God, and all that stuff. But we can be the God for each other, and meaning that we can serve each other and love each other and be there for each other so that people see the God in us and through us, through the love that we show to others.
Amen to that. Because oftentimes it takes this kind of traumatizing event for us to see, for us to seek God, right?
That's right.
You know, Dr. Davis, your closing thought?
Thank you. You know, I think we have to always remember, yes, how do we treat people every second, every day? We also have to remember to be in balance with self, with each other, with harmony, with the physics of this universe, is how I put it, with God, right? But for everything we give out, we have to be able to receive positive and negative if we put out positive and negative. And I say this because I was reading up on just Kobe's life, you know, when this happened, and the shock of, I was so happy that I pulled over to the side of the road. Myron and I were driving. I pulled over to the side of the road for something else to text and saw this. So it was like a shock. It's a shock in that moment. But I know that Kobe Bryant's family was rooted in their Catholic faith, right? His parents, his wife, and I know that to live such a great life, to have a wonderful spouse and 4 children, and to be able to leave that solid legacy on top of entering the NBA as a teenager and having that dignity into what became 41 years, that's a tremendous force. And that takes a lot of self-guided responsibility, self-guided education, but also a sense that you are not the most important thing. There are so many other people. If all of these people can fill the stadium, each one of them are important, and God is with each one of them. And how do I make all of them feel so that they know they are truly important and they matter so much? And every person who ever experienced any bit of the light of Kobe Bryant is blessed tremendously. And I hope that is what they go forward with, and hope that is what they continue each day henceforth.
Mrs. Dobbins, your closing thought?
Well, I was with my grandchildren. When I heard about Kobe. And if anybody knows me, that is the place, that this point in my life, that I always want to be, particularly if something tragic happens. And when I thought about that young man at only 41 years old and leaving his wife and other children, I was so blessed by God that I was on this earth with not only my daughter, who's his age, but my grandchildren. And that God had let me be here at this time. And I said, well, maybe there are some other things that I have left to do on this earth. Because I was always thinking, well, hey, look, y'all, it's your turn. I say to my daughter, it's your turn. Say to Santita, it's your turn. I'm tired. Your mother and I, we've done our bit. But maybe we haven't. Maybe we haven't. Maybe we're not done yet.
Closing thought, absolutely.
Well, my closing thought would be, I think, and maybe I even know, that God is up there saying, servant, well done. Amen. Well done. I once heard Rev say, it's not what people say about you, it's how you live that dash between when you were born and when you leave this earth. And he will certainly say to Kobe, servant, well done. And I also say that we want to say that we want God to to look over and bless and keep and show mercy and grace for the families and the individuals who were impacted by this situation, because there's a lot of people who are impacted. Today is the day that my father transitioned, and I can only be happy and grateful because that was a servant well done. How he lived his life, it makes all the difference, and it will impact so many people to come in his legacy. Servant well done.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes.
Amen to that. Everybody, I hope that this conversation has blessed you tonight. Please like and share it, and we're going to be loading this up to YouTube in a little while, and please like and subscribe there too. And join us tomorrow morning on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station. I want to thank you, as I've been thanking you. You've made the Santita Jackson Show the #1 show there, and we want to continue to grow. That's right. And share conversations like these. Look, Kobe Bryant's work is done. I've never seen God fail. I've never seen God make a mistake. God is too wise to make a mistake, and is too kind to be cruel. I know that when you are done with your journey, when you are done with your work, that is when you get out of here, and not before. So we have got to elevate our discussion, how we talk about things. Take the negativity out of it. Stop saying, I'm done. If you were done, God would be done with you. God's not done with you. When I look at all that this young man packed into his 41 and a half years, I said, wait a minute. And it's like on a subconscious level, he knew that he was on the clock. Because if you look at his life, he's moving like that. That's part of the reason I'm getting out of here tonight, because my father has lived like his life like he's been on the clock. He never expected to live past 39. And God has doubled that time and added to it. And whatever keeps him moving in the morning, when his leg won't move, because the Parkinson's has advanced. But he keeps pushing. And I'm learning from that. And I think we should learn from that. And I'm very he announced it, he's got it. And we're talking about how you live with something, not die from it. So now the question is, what are you going to do? How are you going to make it count? Really? Because we all have something to do. Maybe you won't play before 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 people, be known and beloved by millions and billions. That's not your job. Maybe your job is to be kind to someone. Just one person. The person you walk past who asked you for a crust of bread or a dollar or a dime. Maybe your job is to save their life by being kind. Maybe that's your job. Maybe when you sit at the throne of God and God will acknowledge that, that's all you needed to do. There's a wonderful song, Ordinary People. God uses ordinary people. He uses people just like me and you and you, who are willing to do, available to do everything that he commands. He uses people who will give their all, no matter how small your all may seem to you, because little becomes much if you place it in the master's hand. I don't know how much talent Kobe started with, but I know because he was willing to work, God continued to give him the increase. That's your story. That's my story. That's going to be it.
Okay.
That's going to be it. And we're going to wish you well as you go to Mississippi to teach our children as you write.
Can I wish my dad a happy birthday?
Absolutely, please do that.
Okay, my father, Edward C. Davis III, is 67 years old. We celebrated his birthday yesterday, but tomorrow is the actual day.
Tell him he's a youngster.
He's a youngster, and I'm happy that he's living.
But everybody, God bless you. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
We
like and share.
For your graciousness and your brilliance.
Thank you, Santita.
And what you do and your commitment to the cause. And we thank you as part of your DNA. Let's give her a hand.
I love my biased Uncle Mike, who I've known since they were bringing us food in the dormitory at Howard University. And so, but I received that, and I thank you. But I thank all of you for your commitment. Mark is always going to organize. He's going to run for office. He's going to do something, but he's always seeking to serve. Veronica is seeking to give us some wonderful music. We love you, Veronica. We love you. Phyllis is always asking the crazy questions, and we love her while she's eating that chicken over there. And Miss Pat and Nicole, who's always moving things along. And Michael Humphrey, I can't believe it. Christine, who sets up the food for us and everything. Our black men pushing. Come on, Mr. Jukes. I know you got some, you're going to register some people to vote over there. I love you all. Mateo, Miss Dorothy, we love you. We love you. And you know, and my Lady B, my ride or die, she's going to be at the station at 4 o'clock in the morning. And if you want to see a miracle, you look at this woman. Over the past 2.5 years, she has survived cancer, a heart attack, and a stroke. Oh my God. And she is a caregiver. She is the primary caregiver for her daughter, who is differently abled, as my father would put it. And I thank God for you every day. I thank God for you every day. She runs the entire WCPT network of stations. She's a brilliant technical producer and engineer. So please give her a round of applause. Everybody. Hey. I think we're the only black female-driven political talk show in a top market in the United States of America. That's my girl. And I love you all, everybody. Join us on WCPT tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the coronavirus. Is it a public health crisis? Wuhan, China is a city of 11 million people. They quarantined the whole city, but 5 million people got out of there. Just one moment. 5 million people got out of there before they could be quarantined because they saw what was coming. Yeah. So we need to talk about that because the coronavirus is already in the United States. It's here. And we're going to talk about Mitch McConnell, one of the most powerful and influential men. Certainly he's a man of great consequence, because I distinguish between powerful men and men who hold powerful positions. Great men and women, and those who hold great positions. Because all the people that we've been talking about tonight, they were not exalted by the mainstream. But they sure did move the stream to make it right, didn't they? All right, so join us tomorrow on WCPT 820 and on the Santita Jackson and Friends page and on my YouTube page. The Santita Jackson Show will be streaming live starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, Central Standard Time. I love everybody. Make it count. Remember that. Make it count. Love you. See you next week.
Fantastic. This is really something special. It's an honor to be with you.